What up? What up? What up? What's going on, everybody? Negroes for the podcast. Yeah, NWAPcast. I was about to tell you what episode it was, but I never know what episode it is because we record all of these early now. So these just show up when they show up. I'm the host, Smooth Order.
Tunde, Thought 7.
Lextopia here.
Yeah, it's me, the Negro Android.
Can't see nothing but your bald ass head, bro. You want to
Right? What are you doing?
I'm sorry, I was writing something.
There's no writing.
No.
Before we get things started off, I want to let y'all know to please go ahead and give us 5 stars on iTunes if you fucking with us, if you kind of like us, if you really, really like us. Even if you don't like us, give us 5 stars. We are begging. Well, I'm not begging for 5 stars. I am making a concerned effort to increase the number of 5-star reviews that we get on iTunes. If you want to give us less than 5 stars, don't. Write us an email at nwapcast@gmail.com and let us know what your problem is with the podcast. If you have a legitimate critique, we will read it on the show and we will answer whatever it is that you might have a problem with. If you do not have a legitimate critique, we might read it on the show anyway, and we might fry you if we don't like your answer. So, yeah. Today's episode is going to be called the Education episode, and it is an episode based on the fact that I, Desmond, and Taught 7, Tunde, have all at some capacity either worked in a school, worked or is currently working at a school, or has been the head of a school. So for this episode, I will be playing the background, and Lextopia, will be the moderator for the show. So Lex, get on in here and do your job, nigga.
Yay. So I'm the moderator of today's episode because I have the pleasure of being joined by 3 co-hosts who are amazing Black male educators. And I don't ever fuck with kids like that. And I'm not into teaching. So I'm just going to ask them the questions. So first of all, let's go through and say like how long you've been an educator and what grades, like age group you work with, because I think that makes a difference too.
Who we starting?
Let's start with Taught 7.
How long I've been an educator? I've been actually teaching, whether in the classroom or online, since like 2007. In grad school, I used to teach general chemistry to undergrads. After grad school, I was an adjunct professor online teaching research methods. And this past August, I went from teaching undergrads to teaching middle school. And I teach middle school science.
All right, Smooth Order.
Yeah, I have worked on and off as a substitute teacher. I've been a permanent sub in a couple of different schools since 2008. Yeah, so I've done substitute teaching at various points throughout my life. And I used to be like a school counselor for at-risk youth, and I used to work at this place called the Chrysalis Center. No, it wasn't the Chrysalis Center. Sorry, this place called Smith Community Mental Health Center. I used to work with at-risk youth, and we used to teach in like a classroom setting. So I have a perspective that is both like as a substitute teacher in a classroom setting, as a permanent sub in a classroom setting, outside of the school, but still working with the youth. And I also used to be the internal suspension teacher at this middle school before I moved up to Central Florida.
You niggas been teaching for a decade, FYI.
For real.
That's crazy to me. I feel like when you're younger, I imagine like all my teachers were super duper old, but they really were just like in their 20s and like
regular people.
They seemed like they were so much older and wiser. Nah. Des?
And I'm sorry, I substituted at all levels. I did elementary school, middle school, high school, on everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah, I have only worked at middle schools. At high schools, I have served as a specialty service provider, elective course teacher. I was a dean for 3 years. I am a football coach. I've coached both middle school and high school flag and high school tackle football.
And you're a doula.
Oh, coaching.
Yes.
I coached
Yeah, like
football.
like coaching works. That's important too,
Yeah.
and being a doula, but that's not like a school position.
I hope
It's
not.
just- no, yeah.
They could use one probably.
In today's climate, yes.
So moving right along from climate, what are the challenges of the classrooms that you guys are seeing right now? Let's start with smooth order.
Yeah. So I'm fresh off a 1 month bid. Fresh off a 1 month bid of teaching language arts to 7th graders. And like last year, I was actually working full time as an internal suspension teacher at another middle school. And I would probably say like the largest thing is like these kids don't care about school like that. And I'm not criticizing the teachers when I say that. I'm not criticizing the parents when I say that. I'm just talking about the general attitude and what makes it hard to sort of do your job at the school is like kids don't really seem to give a shit. And it's like usually when people say that, it's like, well, the black kids care more about Jordans and looking fresh than they do about learning anything. It's like, well, the white kids don't care either, right? Like I worked where I live is a predominantly white area. And actually in the school that I worked at, it was actually a pretty decent mix. It was still mostly white, but I mean, they had like they had brown people and had like a couple of black kids in probably every class that I taught. And just none of them gave a fuck. Like it'd be like there's always like a handful of kids that really care and they're like trying to do their work and stuff like that. But then like the majority of the class, like they just be fucking off.
Sounds like the same as when we were in school, right? You feel like it's
yeah,
different?
but I feel like it's different only because towards the end of that, I'm not sure. I started feeling differently about why they may not care or what I took as not caring. Because a lot of these, they didn't give me this until later because I just got it. Like there's another teacher working in that classroom before I got there. So they basically just kind of threw me in and were like, we'll try to give you some lesson plans and shit along the way, but you kind of manage it on your own. Like a lot of these kids had individual education plans and like 50, I want to say 504, 501. I want to say 501. 501. Yeah. Which is basically like a specific way that you have to teach that kid. And I had a big ass folder of those.
I said C2s.
Whatever.
What does that mean? Different ways to teach the kids.
504s, 501 C2s.
So basically, okay, so like say you have like a classroom full of 30 kids, right? And you have 2 kids that have an IEP and you have like 12 kids with like a 501 3C
there's
or
different
some shit
ones.
like that.
There's like 504s, there's multiple forms.
Right. So we'll just say an individual teaching form. So your individual education plan is something like this kid can't be here for this lesson. They get the lesson and they go to another classroom to do that lesson. Basically, like what you would consider, like how you used to take like the quote unquote special kids and put them in different classrooms. They stopped doing that. They put them in regular classrooms, but then they get like IEPs and then they go to another classroom once they've gotten the work because they don't want to segregate the student population. Right. So, and then you have like another list of like students where I had like, it's like specific instructions on how to teach that kid that I have to manage within an entire classroom. So one kid might be somebody that you have to constantly stay on. You have to ask them questions to make sure they understand what's happening. And then you have to like repeat the behavior. One kid might have to sit at the front of the classroom because not that he has ADHD, but he can't sit still because of too much stimuli. So he has to sit towards the front where he can't see like other kids playing so he can focus on his work. One other kid might have to, you might have to give him paper and a pencil. You might have to stand over him while he does his work. That's 3. That's 3 different ways to teach 3 different kids that you have to manage while teaching all 25 kids for 50 minutes.
So you have to constantly be looking at this like, okay, this person needs this for everything you do?
Yes, and I only named 3.
Right.
Like,
you could have way more.
I'm pretty sure I had at least, I taught 6 periods. I probably had like at least 25 different plans in that folder. So that means I had multiple kids, at least 4 kids per class. And I taught 2 advanced classes. and I still had kids in there that had IEPs or that they had, like special arrangements that need to be made for them. So I think that's probably one of like the biggest challenges, like just sort of trying to, the kids don't care, but the kids don't care. And I'm using that term loosely in terms of just their attitude towards the work, but like why they feel like they why they're having some of those issues that they're having in the classroom.
But those are good things, right? To have it recognized that, hey, I need a little bit different treatment, and that for everybody to get their special treatment or not so much.
Some
mean,
kids. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was talking long enough.
I was saying some kids know what the IEP is and what's in it, and they use it to their advantage. So IEP is supposed to be, they're renewable. It's renewable paperwork, right? So sometimes it gets renewed every year, sometimes every 3 years. Some kids would be like, I had one kid that says, well, you can't do that because my IEP says this. And then like the IEP says you have to allow that student to go take their tests or exams outside the classroom. So
what? Who's writing these things?
Oh, that's a whole nother. We can get into that.
That's a whole.
It's like when you get your weed prescription and you just go and be like, "Yeah, I'm kind of stressed," and they're like, "All right, here you go."
Yes, it is a lot like that.
So this kid will like use it to his advantage, and he'll leave the classroom and he'll go cheat. So like, I know you're cheating.
Why is that a thing?
So
yeah.
I personally don't care for them. I don't care for IEP.
All right, well, Top 7, tell me some of the challenges you see in the classroom.
So when educating children, I think it has to be a partnership between parents and teachers, right? So what I see a lot of is a lot of parents think that it's solely the responsibility of the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I'm giving an example. So at my school, we have tracking slips. So each student every week gets a tracking slip that shows their percentage grade out of 100, like where they are, right? So a parent can track. So you can't say at the end of the quarter that I didn't know how did I know the grades were so bad. So and they have to get assigned and returned to the teacher. So I had an IEP like a renewal meeting with one of my kids. So I sat in on it, and I was telling. So I teach science, so we have lab notebooks. So like, we're closing in on the end of the second quarter, and some of my students already on this. It's basically expired notebook or composition notebook. Some of my students have filled in the ones who are do all the work. They filled in the entire notebook, back and front pages. It's a good amount of work. This one kid, his lab notebook is blank. He hasn't done anything. So his last tracking slip, his outside of art, his highest grade was a 11 out of 100. So I'm telling his mom this in all the in the IEP meeting. She's like, well, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, truth be told, I've seen him crumple up the paper and throw it away in front of me when I give it to him. So she's like, can you take a picture of it and text it to me since it's not gonna bring it home? I was like, sure. So I would text it to her, and her response was TY. I'm like, can I get a little bit more than TY? What are you gonna do about this? You're his.
Thank you.
TY. Who is Ty?
What the fuck?
The fuck?
Can I get a little something more than that? Because this I shouldn't care more about your child than you do. And what I do see a lot of is that's exactly what's happening. And then, not saying that you have to sit with your child every night and do 3 hours of homework, but you should hold your child accountable. And and then don't come or don't email me or call me asking blaming me for your child having a bad grade. I don't have a personal vendetta against your child. Like we said on the last episode, I don't have a problem giving a child the grade they deserve. This is middle school, but I feel like middle school, it prepares you for high school. A lot of these kids are going to be in high school next year, and that's when like shit gets real. Like I knew going me in middle school, I knew going into high school, I was like, all right, start from 9th grade. Everything on my transcript is fair play, trying to get into college. So a lot of these kids, they don't think that way because their parents don't give them the tools. So I think that's my biggest challenge.
That concept is so foreign to me because all my life I can remember, like my mom would always like volunteer at the school. Like she'd be in the homeroom shit, like chopping up papers and shit. From elementary school, like my parents knew all the teachers. Like they wanted to know everybody's name, everybody's numbers, all of that. Like they really tried to make relationships with the teachers, and mostly because they wanted to know, like, so who the fuck is teaching our child, you know? Because it might have been some racist person or some like super old person or, you know, some off person where they already knew they would have to go behind them and like say, nah, this isn't really how this happened. And even like when they would assign us books and shit, I think my dad would like read the books first to be like, you know, what kind of stuff are like they actually teaching y'all? So to me, that's weird to think that parents really don't be there. Because then you got people like Drea, how you say her name? Who's like mad because she got to sign off on her kid. Y'all saw that on social media?
Drea.
Yeah, where she was mad at the teacher, like, yo, why do I have to sign off on this and listen to him say this every day? And it's like, bitch, that's your son. Like, help that nigga get a good grade. What are you doing? Jeez. But
So
people got 20 jobs and shit too. So as a parent, for a lot of these kids, it's a cycle, I guess.
So I would like to say, like, so my perspective is very different. One of the things that I experienced, because I was never a teacher. I taught like an elective STEM course, which kids would sign up for. I taught a hip hop and poetry course, which kids would sign up for. And I brought that as a program to several schools. But when I worked in my school full time, I was working there as a dean. And I was the dean of culture. So I brought in alternative ways to.
Dean of culture?
Mm-hmm. So you have a dean
How
of
you get to
students.
be a dean if you've never been a teacher?
Dean of culture is different. It's about school culture. It's about things that are alternatives to discipline, alternatives to mediation. So we use a lot of restorative justice, implementing in restorative circles. I used a lot of meditation instead of detention. I tried to do a lot of things that were innovative in the way that we deal with our young people and the trauma that they experience outside of the school that they bring into the school that manifests in a way that disrupts education. And what I tried to do was not necessarily heal or repair that, but find a way to create a pathway to where they could connect and find meaningfulness in the things that they were learning at school. And that's very difficult because I feel like we're taught very Eurocentric, non-culturally relevant material. And I mean, for me, a lot of times, because one of the things that I had to do with my kids, because I had some tough kids, like I would break up fights, and I would break up fights hard. So with kids, you know, kids was like scrapping, I come around and I'm headhunting, I'm looking, because I was also the football coach, so kids knew, like, yeah, I'm gonna break this up. But some of you guys I'm 5'9", some of y'all are 6'4". You're a man now. Welcome to manhood. I'm gonna break this up hard. And
you just go in and swing your fist?
No. I didn't say. See, you taking it out of context. I'm gonna break it up hard. If you're grabbing somebody, imagine if you're holding someone. Because a lot of these fights devolve into just a wrestling match. I would like to grab you. Usually, I'll grab in between the hands, lift up. Now I have your elbows in a locked position. Now you can continue to fight if you so engaged with this person, but you will end up losing an elbow. And most kids will let it go. And what I did was, kids knew, all right, Seymour's not going to play. So we garnered a respect. One of the things that I struggled with, I would walk into a classroom, the behaviors would straighten up. Then I would leave, and teachers would be like, yo, the teachers would be, oh, well, as soon as you left, that's when they started acting up. And I'm like, that's not my problem. I can't babysit your class. I have to be in multiple classrooms. I have to deal with multiple students. I have to also penalize or reward students in accordance with their IEPs. There are some students, I'll give you an example. I had students that dealt with what is called ADD or ADHD, right? But then I also had a new development, which has been seen in IEPs over the last 5 or 6, 7 years, called ODD, which is oppositional defiance disorder, which in my eyes, right.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That's the one where they don't have respect for authority and that kind of shit.
Right.
Basically just
so
a
that's
bad
ODD.
kid.
or basically just being a teenager, right? You rebel against authority. I don't think it's a disorder, but when you make it a disorder and you then stigmatize it and label it on mostly black kids, black and brown kids, it harms them. And there's a limited amount of repercussion that they can face. There's a limited amount of restoration that can be done because some of these kids have been indoctrinated with the clinical language that has been given to them. And so for me, one of the things that I have found, and luckily, you know, I worked at a school where we had some of the worst kids in New York City. Like we had kids, most of my kids, I had like 250 kids, 120 of them showed up on a regular basis. 90 of them had CMPs, which is court mandated programming, because they had external issues that they were dealing with. My experience was I had a lot of black teachers in my school who would create, develop, and curate culturally relevant material that could say, yes, you cannot see yourself in Shakespeare, but you can see yourself in Langston Hughes. And even little shit like that engages young people. And we're not doing that. I think there's a lot of stuff that we teach young people that they just can't tie in. I also think there's an element, there's a component, and there's a reality of technology that schools have not been able to keep up with. Right?
I don't think anybody can keep up with that shit, to be honest.
No, but you have to find a way to engage young people with it.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I don't disagree with that. I'm saying like just the way that technology moves and the way that school
funding, they can't afford to keep up.
The way that the school infrastructure works.
I about to say, yeah, it's just too many levels and too many OKs and
in public school, because private schools don't have that problem. In public schools,
charter schools have that problem.
You said what?
Charter schools have that problem.
Yeah, but
charter schools are a mix of private and public.
Yeah, but charter schools are like, let's not do that.
Okay, yeah,
let's not,
because
that's a whole
that's a whole separate distinction.
Yeah, that's a whole different.
Public schools. I mean, if you ask my honest opinion, people don't realize this, but when we were in school, in public schools, niggas voted on who was on the. Not the city, like the county council, because the county was the one that gave money to the schools. Because this county used, and this is in Florida, right? That's the example I'm using. County runs the school boards. So the county, so niggas you had to take care of the school. The school had to have resources. Now that they're charter schools, they're privately funded. No one's really accountable. You can't vote in yay or nay on the school's development. So kids go there and fail continually. Nobody does anything because they continue to make money off of the state's funds that are given to them for each student. Especially if they have IEPs. Kids with IEPs, and this is another thing, we incentivize labeling students with IEPs because states or schools, especially charter schools, receive more money for students with IEPs. So if you accept and have more students with IEPs, then you can then get more money, but that also creates a place that fosters an environment where you have all these kids with IEPs and there's no physical way for them to meet the needs. You have some ICT classes that have a 1-to-15 mandatory ratio, 1 teacher, 15 students. If you got all the kids in the school and you live and you work in a co-located building where you only have one half of the school, there's no way that you can meet the population need.
I'm surprised they haven't done a documentary yet on this, like how they did.
It's called Waiting for Superman. Waiting for Superman was one. Waiting for Superman. It was an education documentary. There hasn't been an education documentary that talks about this stuff because all the documentaries have to make sure that white people can wash their hands of blame and be like, it's on the communities.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like how they connect it to the fact that it perpetuates.
Ain't no documentaries that really tell the truth. If we started off with a documentary, we just like, okay, white people fucked this country up. How do we know they came over and killed everybody who lived here? Next.
Yeah, you're right. If we was really real.
If we was really keeping it 1,000, $1,000.
Well, let me ask y'all this too, though. Is being an educator something that you wanted to do, or it just happened?
No, it just happened.
Smooth already didn't do this shit on purpose.
No, I mean, I
wanted to do.
I always wanted to work. Well, I wanted to work with like at-risk youth and stuff like that because I obviously Des was an at-risk youth, so those were the kids that I was working with, kids from my neighborhood or from my.
Here's the thing, though, I was more at risk than these niggas. The music I listened to was 3 6 Mafias. These niggas was violent. These niggas are listening to niggas talking about doing Xannies and drinking lean.
That's not violence. It's not where I was going with that, but okay.
I'm just saying, like, we were prone to violence. These kids now are prone to drug abuse.
Well, I mean,
very different problems. Very different problems.
I don't really think that one problem is really better than the other one, but
I'd rather do drugs than deal with the violence that I experience.
Well, that's one man's opinion. Oh, well, all I was going to say was,
my bad.
I wanted to work. I did want to work with kids, and I did when I originally started off with my career goals. At some point, I wanted to circle back to working around with kids and working around with black teens and stuff like that. But that actually ended up coming a lot sooner than I thought it would. I thought in a much different manner too, because I came in as a counselor working with them. And in my mind, I saw myself doing it years later, as an educator. And I actually ended up substitute teaching as like a hustle because I was working 2 jobs at the time. So substitute teaching was my day hustle, and then counseling the kids was like my night thing. So like I definitely didn't like walk into it thinking that I was going to end up doing this thing, and then I thought I was going to end up doing that thing for like a year. Like I said, I've been in and out of the substitute teaching system for like 10 years. So that's kind of how that worked out.
Okay. And then kids now, so we talked about technology a little bit. Kids now, are they allowed to have their cell phone in class? Like with social media and all of us like being at work and tweeting and doing all of that, like are kids on social media all day, like in the classrooms now?
So my school collected phones. My school would, because kids would take fights, kids do all kind of stuff, kids having their phones in the bathroom, doing other types of explicit activities. And then another thing is like, and this is something that people don't realize, phones create this big liability in school where if a kid steals another kid's phone and like you steal that other kid's phone, and if we're able in the school to find it and we notify the parent press charges, that's grand theft. All phones, most of our phones that the kids have are smartphones. They're over $300, and now they're mostly over $1,000. So stealing the device itself is grand theft. So you ready to hit a kid with grand theft because he stole somebody's phone? That seems petty, but it's like shit like that interplays with the school system all the time. Kids stealing each other's laptops, iPads, whatever, what have you.
So you're saying that they shouldn't be able to bring those types of things to school?
I'm saying at our school, we collected them because it allows. Have you ever seen the videos? I'll give you an example. There's a video that I saw on Twitter the other day. This kid had on like, I don't know, it was shoes that had lights on the bottom, and the niggas in the video was roasting him.
Absolutely. The teacher too.
They were, huh?
Teacher was too.
Yeah, like everybody was roasting this kid, right? He was getting roasted, and then like as you see, like the kid gets up, he walks away. As he's walking away, niggas is following him, taping him. Here's the thing. That kind of abuse, because now that abuse, it's limited to your school. Now it's posted to the internet. It's not limited to your school. Everybody on YouTube is laughing at you. That shit is traumatic.
It's different now.
Abusive. Yeah, like if you got swung on, if you got beat up at your school, niggas know you got beat up at your school, and niggas might try you from another school, but it's not likely. Niggas, news didn't travel. Now, these kids are taping assaults, right? And I tell these young people, like, hey, I used to fight more than most of y'all. I got to a fight every other day. Like, that's how it was at my school. But ain't no evidence of that. It's just the niggas that I know who love me and respect me. Like, yo, I fuck with Dennis because I know he hold it down for us. You guys are taping it, and then you're uploading it to the internet. Think about how many fight videos we watch and see. This be like, damn, this shit is crazy. No, crazy is not the word. This shit is assault.
Yeah.
Because you hit one of these rich white kids, their parents are going to press charges. And you're going to jail, Devontae.
Devontae, though?
I'm just saying, that's Jesus' middle name, so I figured it's a common name.
So, but what has to change, right? Because with social media now and with everybody wanting to tape every single thing, is it that you have to put more emphasis on teaching the kids of, hey, what the impact is of putting this stuff up? Or do we just have to get used to it? Like, hey, this is the way things are now. Like, everything's going to be up. So the punishment should just be less.
Responsible. Oh, go ahead, today. My bad.
I was going to say, in my school, we tried to the whole no cell phone in the classroom policy. That shit went out the window quick. Like, sometimes I don't allow cell phones as if like I'm actually teaching a lesson and I hear your cell phone, I'm taking it. Or if we're taking a test and I see your cell phone, then I'm taking it.
Because then they got access to the internet. You can't stop that.
You can cheat. So we have had instances where they record fights, put on the internet, and so one of the students isn't at school anymore. But yeah, like cell phones are a problem. I don't know how we're gonna like I think our school also has like it's like almost a dead spot. It's like you get like one bar at our school. I think it's like that on purpose. But
yeah,
like,
they build them like that. They do that.
And the kids don't have access to the Wi-Fi unless they're on their Chromebook for like an assignment or something. So unless you have,
then you can block the websites.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That sounds too complicated.
So I'll give you an example.
I mean,
can I give an example?
It's necessary.
I'll give you a wild example.
Oh, and then you can give your example. I don't even remember the question. Now, what's the question?
The question was about phones and having phones in the schools now, and how much of an issue that is, and them being like on social media and all of that.
Well, at the school that I just worked at, I think they blocked everything. They blocked everything. Like you couldn't, because I think I had to use like the regular Wi-Fi one time that wasn't like the teacher Wi-Fi, and all that shit is blocked. At the school that I worked at, I just got done working at, they made all the kids put the phones in their lockers. So like they couldn't use them during the day. And there were signs like all around the school saying that they couldn't use the phones. And if they were using the phones, and that we were supposed to take them and then like write their names on we were supposed to take them. If they wouldn't give them up, we would have to call an administrator, and then the administrator would come down and take them away. So they basically had like a really, really strict no phone policy as far as in class was concerned. As far as the hallways and like lunch and stuff like that, I don't think there were any rules about that. And then every once in a while a kid would try to sneak a phone into like the classroom and stuff like that. But like that's at the school that I just worked at. I think the school before that I worked at, I don't think they had any sort of cell phone rules or anything like that. I think they would just the administrators would say they're not supposed to have them, but there was like no real course of action for them having them. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like they're not supposed to have them, just tell them to put it away. It was like, well, that's not, you don't spend all day telling these kids to put away the fucking phone.
Yep.
Like in the middle, you trying to teach a lesson, put away the phone. You trying to help somebody with their work, put away the phone. You trying to get some, put away, like it just becomes something that kids drown out because you have to say the shit so much during the day.
How does social media play an effect when it comes to bullying? So like Des, you already talked about how it might be considered bullying when you're taking these videos and pictures and then putting them online without consent. Do you have anything else to say about that?
So I'll give you an example. This just recently came up, and I no longer work at my school. I'm not gonna say no names, but I'll give you an example of what happened. There were 3 girls, right? 4 girls involved in a situation. They were in the girls' bathroom, right? Both of the deans at my school were men. So neither of us, we'll go get the principal or the AP, like one of y'all got to go into the girls' bathroom. If there was a fight in the girls, I'm not breaking up shit. I'm not going in there. I'm not taking on that liability. There was a young lady in the bathroom with another young lady engaging in explicit activity, right? Involving her fingers, right? Inside the other young lady. She comes out of the bathroom, goes to the young lady who she was in the bathroom, goes to her girlfriend in the middle of the hallway.
Oh my God.
Smacks her in the face and says, "You smell that? That's your B word." Right? And then they start fighting. One of her
These
friends.
kids are on some other shit.
Right.
That's what's up, though.
One of her friends, like a motherfucking Discovery Channel docuseries, tapes the whole thing from leaving the bathroom to walking up. And so it was premeditated. When she slaps the girl, has all that on tape. Now, she put her phone away to start fighting. It was like, oh shit, blah, blah, blah. You see the phone drop on the ground, and they start fighting, right? They're all, all right, this is like their last straw. This is not their first offense, obviously. They get removed from the school. Blah, 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 no big deal. The video was uploaded a couple weeks ago. This happened in 2015, the 2015-2016 school year. The video was uploaded before, like right at the beginning of December. Now, there's nothing we can do about that. And it's all because this young lady snuck her phone in and was able to tape this whole thing. And like, I know that story. That's the story that happened like my second year there. And now look, now it's on the internet and nobody can take it down. We can take it down, but like,
but what are the repercussions of it being online if those kids are not in school anymore? I mean, I know it's still not good, but
One of them, well, two of them are still under 18, and their videos, their faces are, on camera. Like they know each other. It's not necessarily being circulated, in a large community, but it's circulated enough for it to have an effect in there because they're showing it to their friends in their immediate circles. So yeah, it may not be a nationally memed video, but it's a video that kids in Brooklyn know, kids in Brooklyn are familiar with, and the school becomes associated with it. There's a matriculation of effects that continues even, and then how do you live that down? How do you live down getting slapped in the face with your ex-girlfriend's juices?
Also, that's funny to me.
That's not funny. It's not funny.
It's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
These
It's
little
like
kids are like so grown.
They really are.
But that's the thing. Kids are taping stuff like this all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we talk about bullying, I don't really know, because I kind of feel like on one hand, like when I grew up, like bullying meant something different then than it does now. Like in 2000, about to really date myself here. And like somewhere between like 1996 and like 2002, like if you got bullied, that's like my 6th through 12th grade here. You got bullied, like the bullying just stayed at your school, right? Like at some point you was like, either you're gonna keep getting bullied or you gonna have to fade this nigga. Like there's really, that's really your only option. You know what I'm saying? Because if you get bullied and other people see you getting bullied, then they're gonna bully you too. So at some point you feel like either I'm gonna have to move away, I'm gonna have to fade this nigga. But you could change your school and be cool, right? Maybe you don't, if assuming you don't live in the same neighborhood as your bully. You go to another school or whatever like that, but like you can get a fresh start somewhere else. Or you could just fight the nigga. And if you got beat up, then you got beat up. Then, you might get bullied after that again. And then you might have to hit that nigga with something else. Who knows, right? But more of the times than not, when I was growing up, you got bullied. Eventually, something came to pass. You either switched schools or you fought your bully. A level of respect was earned at some point somewhere. And everybody just kind of went back and find somebody else to fuck with, right? I feel like now, like, you can't get away from that shit. Like the story that Des was just telling, right? Like that shit's on the internet forever. Like there's nowhere in the universe that this girl can go where there's not a potential for somebody to see that video, right? And it's like, how do you fight against that? Like, how do you get beat up on camera and then the shit gets uploaded to YouTube? She gets uploaded to World Star Hip Hop. She has like 90 million views. Like even if the video gets taken down, people still saw you get your ass whooped, right? Like there's no getting away from that shit. So I feel like part of me is like, if you're getting bullied, just beat the shit out of the person that's bullying you. If you can't beat the shit out of them, find a way to beat the shit out of them. Sneak attack them. Hit a nigga in the head with a chair, right? Something that says, I'm not going to take this anymore.
So violence is the answer to being bullied?
Sometimes. Because what you going to do? Tell the teacher? Teacher now is going to be there to save you. Going to tell the principal?
Yeah, but then you're going to get suspended. Then you're going to be in the system. Then you're going to think, fuck everybody. Then you're going to start robbing gas stations. And then you're going to go to juvie.
It's not always the case. It's not always the case. I'm saying when I was growing up, that was how you handle bullying. You had to fight that nigga. You had to fight the bully. That was just the way that it went down.
And then literally every time too, it ends right after that shit too.
Right, because I'm saying like I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying like that was a probable cause of recourse, because really the people that got bullied were the people that people knew weren't going to fight back. So if you started swinging on people, even if you lost the fight, the bully at least knew, all right, well, this nigga's willing to swing on me, so I might not bully him as much, or I might just, chill the fuck out. In 2017 or 2018, excuse me, you bullying kids now, like you can't get away from that shit. Like this is gonna be on Snapchat, it's gonna be on YouTube, it's gonna be on fucking, I don't know, whatever the fuck it is that these kids. I don't even know if they use bullies, anymore. You said what? What?
I said once you start talking about it being on the internet and stuff, at that point, it's also not fair to me, to the bully, because it's like you have this label on you now forever. And
no, nigga, you was bullying people. If you didn't want that label, you'd leave people the fuck alone.
But these are still kids who have a chance to like change. Like even with like the whole Keaton thing or whatever, like people even so whether you're getting bullied or you're the bully, if you're a kid, you still need to be treated like a kid and to the point where like you still can be educated to think like better than whatever the fuck you were doing, right?
Can I say something? So with the whole bullying situation, right? Like you have to look at it in this way. Yes, they are still kids. And bullying is an expression of like kids trying to express their boundaries and relationships to power among their peers, right? What you have to realize is right now, when kids are engaging in bullying activities, it really is something that travels with them from the real world to the digital world in terms of social media. Well, like Garfield was saying, like when I was young, we not only are we gonna fight you, nigga, we gonna jump you. It's gonna be me. If you like, no, I'm dead serious. I got beat up by this kid who was in the 9th grade when I was in the 6th grade because of some shit that I said to his brother who was in the 6th grade. Then I got to the 7th grade, and I'll never forget this. This nigga came down and he whooped my ass. He was in the 10th
You're
grade.
so serious right now, too.
He was in the 10th grade. Now, here's the thing. Think about that. That is a 13-year-old versus a 16-year-old. Those two should not be fighting. We caught that nigga at the quick pick. And I'm telling you, we whooped this nigga ass. And I remember I had a Star Crunch in my pocket, and I kicked him in the fuck. Oh, I crushed up my Star Crunch. I was mad, and you
see how passionately Des is telling the story right now. This is the psychology. This is the effect of being bullied.
No, right? No, it is. It is. Think about it. Because I was in the 7th grade, nigga. You in high school? You came to fight me in middle school, bitch. You came from Dillon. Oh, you came from where you from? Come fuck with me. So that, and we had to respond. Now, luckily, I was in a situation where I had people, but that's a level of violence. You're getting into levels of violence. We have to eradicate that as a community. And a big part of that is because a lot of our kids feel powerless. And bullying is a way for our young people to try to express and test the boundaries of power. And our kids feel powerless. And they may not know that the world is making, people of color, it's oppressing them, but they know that they feel like they have a lack of power. And we have to engage them in things that show them that they have power and that they have value. Sorry.
Wow.
No problem. Tunde?
But you bully a kid, you need to get that ass lumped up. Ain't nothing.
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
That bullying like a hematoma.
What?
That's the medical term for a knot. You get a knot on your head and that shit swell up. Nothing to stop that bullying. You walk around the bitch looking like a one-horned triceratops. Your ass is straighten up, fly right, real fast.
Oh my gosh. Tunde, what experiences have you seen with bullying?
As a teacher, I've seen it a lot. I think
It's your job to stop it.
In my opinion, it's my job to stop it, but in my opinion, I think the school that I am teaching at now, it perpetuates this culture of bullying because the school I'm at, like, it's a numbers game, right? So like you get paid per student, so like we're not as likely to put a student out for bullying as like we should, even though we've lost. That I know of, we've lost 3 students so far this school year because of bullying. And I think it sucks. Like I have this one kid, right? I'm gonna tell you a story about this one kid. This kid, he's like one of the biggest bullies. He's bigger than everyone else. Like he weighs more than me. I'm about 200 even. He weighs more than me. He's in 8th grade. And not only does he like bully like other students, he like disrespects a lot of the staff, the women's staff. And I told him and also he's one of those students that has an IEP for like his behavior issues. So you can't really get in too much trouble for it, like unless it's like something like super off the wall.
He has to hurt somebody.
But he bullies my students, right? Whatever. So I told him, I was like, yo, listen. I told straight up, I was like, listen, I don't like you. And he's like, why don't you like me? I was like, because you're a bully. And so he knows I don't like him, whatever. So he always tests me like doing little things. He's like, yo, I'll punch you in your face and I'll break your jaw. I was like, listen.
Listen, bitch. You done gone too far.
The day you punch me in the face, this is my last day working here. Because I'm gonna put you in the hospital. I'm gonna drag you out of my classroom and beat your ass in front of the principal. That's what's gonna happen. So it was this one day when they kept talking all this shit, whatever, right? So one day I had bus duty. So like each teacher has like, certain days they have to make sure all the kids get on their bus. Because if not, then we don't want, like, we can't just leave kids out there with no way to get home. So it's a Friday, and I'm like, already, I was like, yo, as soon as I leave, like, I had my bags packed. I was driving up to Seattle. I was like, yo, this last bus was late. I'm like, fuck, yo, this bus will show up. So I'm waiting for the kids. I'm across the street, off school property. So I teach at a middle school, and it's like 7 to 12. So this buddy comes around the corner with some high schoolers, and I hear him come around the corner. He sees me, like, yeah, you off school property now? It's after school. What's up? I'm like, yo, I don't got time for it right now. I'm not in the mood. Just like, go away. Why you even here? School's over. So he keeps coming, whatever. And I was like, I walked away. I was like, yo, pardon my back. Hit him one of those, right? So then he smacks me in the back of the head and then runs. I was like, you know what?
The kid?
Yeah. I was like, this is the day
kids are not scared of y'all.
Like, it's the day I get fired, though. He tries to run, right? I hawk him down, and like I kind of tackle him to the ground and put him in a chokehold. I was like, yo. I had him in a chokehold, right? I was like, I whispered, I was like, yo, I will beat the fuck out of you, fat bitch. And then, like I would tell, like, who's gonna believe you? I asked the kids, like, y'all see anything? They're like, nope. I was like, see, that's what you get for being a fucking bully. You bully people and then you get bullied. So
who's gonna believe you?
Yeah, that shit was crazy, yo. Like, I don't really care for bullies because I was bullied as a kid too. So like, I hate seeing that shit. And I know it's cool to say, you fight back, but not everyone can fight back.
That's capable. Yeah.
What do you do when a bully's twice your size?
Des?
I would say I had to. I mean, that's what ends up happening. That's what you joke.
That's why kids be bringing weapons to school.
Nah, niggas be getting sick of getting tried and be like, all right, everybody catching it, and that's not fair. But that's sometimes the repercussion. That's a community repercussion for not handling some of that. And there's also mental illness that's involved in that. I'm not dismissing it or making light of it. I will say I had a student, man, as another thing, like I said, this is about testing your boundaries. Because I had a young man, he bought like a little, like somehow he got his little, like, like a pocket knife, like a Swiss Army knife through school safety. And he was threatening to kill a kid. He's like, I'll kill him. And I was like, what's he talking about? So I pulled him in the office. He's like, fuck you talking about? I'll kill you too. I said, hey, man. And I was like, hey, man, think about what you're saying.
He said, think about what you're saying.
I said, but they're
kids are fucking crazy.
They just say shit. They're just kids, so they just say shit because they watch TV and they're influenced by these games.
Think about that shit, boy.
They just say shit. I told him, I said, sit down. Who's gonna stop me? He's like, what you mean? I said, you're talking crazy. And I locked the office door. I said, you're talking crazy. Who in this school can stop me? Maybe Officer Mathis. Maybe Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson's not here today. Officer Mathis is on the other side of the building. You telling me you're going to kill me is not the right move. It's not the right idea. And I gave him his Swiss Army knife back, and I said, here, I want us to talk about this because you need to understand, you and I are different. We came up differently, but you can make positive choices. And like, we had a conversation about the repercussions. And like I said, look, man, you're a tough guy. here. You're a hard
Right.
dude here.
Here.
If you go to jail, your name is no longer, your name is girlfriend now. Your name is Bae. Like, you are not the guy
That's
you
scary.
are here. But here's the thing. I'm the nigga you go meet. Like, it's niggas bigger than me. It's niggas worse than me. I'm your dean. I care about you. I damn near love you because you are a young person who I see a lot of myself in. But understand, when you go to jail, niggas just see you as meat. And you have to understand that this world treats you like meat, and you have to get rid of that mentality, and you have to see the power that you have to be a positive person. And like, we had a conversation, and he changed some of that behavior. Now, what helped change his behavior was a new kid came and tapped that ass, and he was no longer trying to play hard because these kids have not been punched in the face enough. That's something I realized. This generation just don't get punched. They just talk with all these without repercussions.
Everybody be talking, boy.
Right now, we use the term, and it bothers me, and I'm a grown man. To this day, we use the term fuck boy and fuck nigga. You called me a fuck nigga, I'm punching you and your mammy. Not your mama, your mammy. Like, you can't, now that term is used loosely. White people say it. You're a fuck boy. Call me a fuck boy.
Yeah.
That's,
you know what?
A fuck boy is an eyelash away from calling
Listen,
me a nigga.
I'm glad you brought that up. There's two things in Florida that you call somebody that are automatic fuck words. I mean, automatic fighting words.
But they're common terms.
Fuck boy is one of them?
Yeah.
You call somebody a fuck boy in 1993 in Florida.
Really?
Listen.
Yes.
You call somebody a fuck boy in Florida, like in the mid to late 90s, like you were basically saying that I want to fight you. Like, that's basically what that translates to. Call somebody a fuck boy, you call somebody a pussy nigga. Either one of those terms were basically saying I am assaulting your manhood. And I am, you know how like back in the days, these people should take their gloves off and slap people in the face like, I challenge you to a duel. You call somebody a fuck nigga, or you call somebody a fuck boy or a pussy nigga or a fuck nigga, that's basically like the exact, you basically taking your gloves off and slapping them in the face and saying you're challenging into a fight, basically to the death. Because that basically was, it's only proper amount of recourse. So when I saw the shit about in the New York Times, I think it was like a fuck boy is just a guy who doesn't want to be in a relationship. I was like, white people have gentrified fuck boy, and that is amazing.
That shows you the power of gentrification.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy.
Because a white person calling you a fuck boy is literally an eyelash hair away from calling an old nigga. Like, that's like, you called me a nigga. I called you a fuck boy. It's different. Cultural relativity, my nigga. I'm gonna beat the shit out you.
You gotta have a lot of patience to be a teacher, and I know I don't have it.
Because
the way you have to sit down and talk to these kids, you really have to love them, and they really won't get that, like, probably ever until they're our age.
Right, but you know what? That's why you have to do it. And this is gonna sound fucked up, but maybe not true. Everybody should do a stint where they do some work with education or with young people, because I'm telling you, we wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for the grace of older niggas. I had a teacher,
That's
Mr.
true.
Jack. Mr. Jack, he told me, he said, Des, this was when I was in high school, right? And I had stopped doing a lot of the crazy shit I was doing. He said, I'm gonna tell you something, Des. He said, for every brother that you don't lift up, you got to put another picket in your fence or another bullet in your gun. And that shit is true.
I'm sorry.
Everyone I have to put another, I have to protect myself. Every brother that I don't lift up is a brother I got to protect myself against.
Not if I move.
That's sad.
Nigga, shut up.
Not if you move.
Do you get the spirit of what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
So how do we fix the classroom?
You get the shot on sight. They don't know you, nigga.
What is it that you're gonna do? Like, how can you make any effect in the overall system, or can you?
I worked in a school. I started a business where I work with young black men in particular.
So you got ideas basically that allow you to remove yourself from that system that you were working in, and now you want to implement your ideas through your other work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. But we also have to do cultural stuff. Like,
Black
people have to become stronger. As a people,
why do we have to become stronger?
Because it's always our
because
fault.
These are our people that are harming ourselves. Look, man. Can I say something that's like not mildly? It's like a tangent.
Go ahead, Dad. Another one.
All right.
Yeah, he's been tangenting this entire.
Right.
This is something that I'm very serious about. Look, right now, the world that we live in, if we create a world that is equal, right? Say what you want about black people. We have caught the most hell in America, except maybe Native Americans because they were all killed off, right? If the world was to become equal tomorrow, that means that more black people, because black people are dope as fuck, we would occupy more spaces. We would have more opportunities. We would create more content. We would manage more content. We would have more representation. If black people were to have that, it would decrease the quality of life for white people's offspring. By asking for equality, you are asking for white people to voluntarily create a world where their offspring have a chance of losing out a job. Their offspring have a chance of not getting this opportunity over someone else. Nobody, it's a biological imperative. No one is going to do that. I'm not going to create a world in which my offspring are worse off than the world that I lived in. That's why you can't ask for it. You have to demand it. In order to make demands, you have to be strong. Black people have to find the strength within themselves. We have to build ourselves as a community. And like that shit, because that shit, it comes in all kinds of forms. It comes in bullying because our kids feel powerless. It comes in kids dropping out because they feel that there's no point in learning education. And some of this education is bullshit, don't get me wrong. But understanding the structure, understanding the system, and finding ways to move within it and manipulate it in a way that is to your benefit is something that is a skill that we have to teach. So, all right, I'm done. That was a quick tangent.
Oh, we need more teachers like you, Des.
Maybe.
I don't actually know if that was a good thing or not, but
why was that? What was negative about that?
No,
we have to be stronger as a people.
We have to be what?
Stronger.
Yeah, we always have to be stronger.
Always.
It sucks.
It's not fair, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's fair. When we got pulled on the boats in Africa, shit wasn't fair.
And it'd be your own niggas. We were sold by Africans. It'd be your own niggas.
Who got paid by white people. So let's not forget who the real demons are here.
See, you called them demons. I just said black people got to be stronger.
White people are demons, so that's why we have to be strong. All right, this isn't about me. This is about educating our youth. So with that being said, do you guys want to talk about any other issues within the school system, or are we good? Because it's been a minute.
Sorry. I feel like my only thing with school, this is an overarching problem with public school in general, and I don't really know what the answer to this is I just don't know what purpose this public school serves anymore.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's different. It's different now.
I don't know. I think the idea of what public school was supposed to be an opportunity for Americans to all be educated, and then for us to go out there and use our education or to further our education via college or whatever the case was, and then be productive members of society who contribute to society and give back to society, and to ensure that we have a literate fucking country, because that's what we were supposed to be doing. But a lot of the things when I think about what school is now and just what public school is right now and what public schools are doing right now and how they're failing our kids right now, and not necessarily just public schools. I'm just talking about the entire infrastructure, the way that we fund schools, the kind of teachers that we put in schools, the kind of things that we're teaching our kids, the fact that they can't keep up with the technology, all these IEP plans, all this goddamn standardized testing, all this different stuff that just sort of makes up what the actual school system is. It's so why do we send our kids to school again? What purpose is public school serving? When we did the episode with Ron Brown, the Young Kings episode, we saw that there was they were a lottery school. I mean, they're still a public school, but they're a lottery school that was focused on this very, very specific thing of helping Black youth and socializing them and trying to catch them up, basically in the school system since they were ninth graders, but they were reading at the first grade level and shit like that. And you think about just the advantages that are built in you think about school and some of the advantages that are built into school that you feel like they shouldn't be there, right? If you start VPK, which is pre-kindergarten basically, right? If your child doesn't go to VPK, your child's probably already behind, right?
Mhm.
By the time a child gets to second and third grade, like the kids that went to VPK are like miles above the kids that didn't go to VPK. And if your child happens to go to a private school at that early of an age, like they're gonna be miles ahead. And the gap just every single year that those students matriculate through school,
The gap widens.
And you know who's going to be on the wrong, and you know who's going to be on the receiving end on the wrong end of that widened gap. It's always either going to be poor people or black people who are generally make up the majority of poor people, right? So we're sending our kids and they're feeding our kids into this system. They got to take in Florida. I can't speak for other states. They got to take, I don't even know what the fuck they call this test anymore. It used to be called the FCAT when I was in school. I don't know what they call this shit now. They got to take something. They got to take like a standardized test in the 4th grade. They got to take a standardized test in like the 8th grade. And they got to take it again like the 10th grade. But like they have all these little different checks and balances in between where like if you don't pass the test, then you can't go on to the next grade. And I don't think they're doing social promotion anymore. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think they're doing that here anymore. So like, it's like, like our kids are going to school and they're not learning anything. And they're not using any of this shit to apply to anything. Like the teachers are fucking overworked and underfunded. We definitely don't pay teachers what the fuck they need to be paid. I made $9 an hour as a substitute teacher. And I was teaching a full fucking curriculum. Made $9 an hour. And that's before crazy. Taxes. Before taxes. My people. You know what I'm saying? That's before taxes. So after taxes, it's probably like $7 and some fucking change, right? But I got these goddamn kids all goddamn day. You know what I'm saying? Right. So like you look at like and then they pass this bullshit ass tax law, like where teachers can't even like get tax school supplies, and people are like, wow, they make enough money, they shouldn't have to buy school supplies because you have never been in a fucking school. Right. I worked at one of the best schools in the district, and the kids still didn't have no fucking pencils. I still had to get them niggas paper. I didn't buy the shit; the other teachers would supply it, but like we still had to give them stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like, I just look at public school and just like, there's so much supplemental education that has to happen for your child just to stay on pace. And so many parents either A, don't do that, or B, can't do it. Right? So we're just give up?
I'm about to say, so is this the parents' fault at the end of the day?
Listen, again, when you ask me like what the problem is with the school system, I said at the beginning, I don't know what the solution is, and I'm not putting blame on anything. I'm just talking about the school infrastructure and all of the things that are encompassed in it, which is why like I just don't know. It's like even if you have good teachers, right? Like you're not going to pay them what they're worth. One, they're already stressed out because, like I said, I was teaching I would have had to have taught 4 or 5 different education plans per class period. It's in rooms full of 25 to 30 students in 50 fucking minutes. Okay, like this shit's fucking impossible. It's impossible to be a teacher in a lot of public schools, and yet the teachers' longevity in the school system is based on the amount of kids that are passing these standardized tests. So you basically spend an entire year teaching a standardized test, and these kids really aren't learning anything. And then even the stuff that they can learn is outdated. It doesn't apply to everybody. You got to do all this. You know, you can't get these kids to buy into it because why the fuck? And I don't have no problem with Shakespeare. I learned Shakespeare as part of the classes when I was in high school. I was in AP English, and then I was in honors English like the entire time I was in high school. But what the fuck? What is Shakespeare going to do for a nigga in 2017?
That shit is not relevant though.
These kids listen.
It's actually more relevant now.
Like what am I gonna like? Niggas are still teaching. Fuck. Like why don't we teach how to file taxes?
At what point do they start?
Fucking, I don't know.
Because that would make them successful.
At what point do they start transitioning though?
Doesn't want us to be successful.
You said what?
Yeah, because like at what point do they start transitioning to where it's not Shakespeare we're reading now? It's, you know what I mean, somebody more modern. Now we're reading like Van's book or something, or like whoever, you know what I mean? Like how does that work?
That's
how old does it have to be for it to be part of the?
Because you have to go through the curriculum is just dog like I can talk a whole goddamn question. That's a whole nother podcast in and of itself.
Just curriculum,
but just like
then states choose what they want to teach too sometimes, right? With evolution and.
Dog, there's a book in Texas that was calling slavery the Southern Cotton Industrial Complex, and it's like.
Yeah, they were saying they weren't calling them slaves no more. They was calling them black immigrants. Like they're making like they were banning books from like they're. Oh my god, I'm so fucking
They just
frustrated.
make up whatever they want to teach people.
It's just.
But that's what
and it's
niggas
like,
are believing is real history, and it's not.
yeah, they're basically teaching like fake. They're teaching things that are not.
We've always
real.
been against the winners being the ones who come up with the way they say history, and it's always wrong.
But even then, when you talk about like when we weren't allowed to go to school with white kids, and school segregation is actually still happening now, and is a lot worse than it was in 1950.
It's just more systematic.
Completely fucking unrelated. It's like you have black teachers teaching stuff. It's like they got forced out because you don't pay them enough fucking money to stay there.
Like
You're not giving them the resources. Not giving the resources they need to succeed. I'm gonna stop talking because like my chest is starting to hurt now. I'm starting to get upset.
Yeah, yes. But I still think you can't give up on these young people. We have to educate us, because right now white supremacy, and a lot of white people are guilty of white supremacy, not just the evil racist ones. It's not going to teach our kids. It's not going to do anything to benefit our young people. Like Smooth Warrior just said, like they're literally rewriting history. And when you think about like how we get so far, like, man, how do we not ever learn about this? There are white people who never. Like when Birth of a Nation came out, right? All the white people who were like, well, who's Nat Turner? Because why would history that's taught by white people tell you about a black guy who fought white people and won? Right? Our kids, I was talking to a bunch of my kids the other day, right? They was talking about, because if you know Black Youngster, he's this rapper. He tweeted this thing. He was like, I like to use voice notes because I can't spell everything that I'm trying to text. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, he said, I don't text because I can't spell everything that I'm trying to say. And I was like, and then a bunch of my kids retweeted, and I was like, why are y'all retweeting this? And they were like, well, he's got a point. No, nigga, learn how to spell.
I saw that too.
And I was just like, our young people, there's no incentive.
Here's my last question. Here's my last question for all of you, and then we're out of here.
Yeah.
What can non-educators, folks who are not teachers, what can they do to help the overall situation, make an educator's job easier? And not just as a parent, like just as an outside individual, I want to see the kids do better. Top 7?
Like, you can volunteer. There's so many programs that pairs adults with kids. A lot of my kids, they have mentors who like will come to the school and take them out to lunch, take them to like basketball games or help them with their homework. And sometimes they use their good behavior as an incentive for them. Like the one kid I had to choke out, like he plays football. And like I remember the football season, each week he had to get like all his teacher's signatures saying that he did a good job that week. And if he didn't, then his mentor wasn't allowing him to play football anymore. So yeah, like it may seem like you're not making an impact because it's just one kid, but if more people did it, then one kid turns to 2, turns to 4, turns to 8. So I think more adults, especially if you don't have kids yet, that's a good way to like kind of like introduce yourself. Yeah. So I think
that's a good idea. Smooth Order.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that would be the best way to do it, or I just try to. So you're saying people? Are you talking about like you just said non-educators? Does that include parents too, or?
But yeah, and like not your kids necessarily in school, but I mean if that's what you have.
I don't know. I think somebody has to create like a thing. Maybe create like I think somebody making like an after school program, because we definitely don't have it. I don't even think they do that shit anymore. Like,
there are a zillion after school programs, aren't there?
No, not like after school. There's not like a zillion after school programs. They cut out a lot. I mean, because a lot of that stuff was like funded through the school. So then when they started cutting money from the school, they started cutting the after school programs. But maybe something that's like a standalone kind of thing that kids like. People, I read about people doing like these yoga things, like neighborhood yoga and like neighborhood gardens and stuff like that. Like I feel like maybe like Tune was saying, like the volunteers, like maybe you can get a grant to run something like that, run some kind of program that does something like that after school that helps like the kids in the neighborhood or stuff like that. Like because if we're not talking about like people that have direct parental involvement, then I'm trying to think of something that somebody who doesn't have parental involvement would be able to do. And I think having a program that houses these kids does maybe just some sort of supplemental education, like some kind of tutoring, I don't know, some kind of thing that kind of helps these kids close the education gap. And again, like I really don't know what that thing is. Like I'm really just kind of pulling ideas out of the air right now because I like it's such a big fucking problem. Like I can't really just get a grasp on it. But I think something like that might be able to help, or maybe something I like to see more of. But other than that, like Tunde said, like volunteering directly with the school. But like again, the school, like nigga, you're only gonna get so many of those kids. Right, like you're only going to get so many of those kids. And as a volunteer, like if a teacher don't even want to deal with the student like that, like why would a volunteer who's not getting paid want to deal with that kind of shit too? So like it's a whole bunch of different stuff going on there.
Negro and Android.
I would like to see more Black people, Black ownership of charter schools and specialized education schools. Just Black people in the ownership who have a stake. So like, yeah, you may not ever have been able to educate someone, but you can count real good and you're a CPA that owns a really good business and you're lucrative. Partner with about 20 other people. Get a charter school, hire people that really, really, really work with those kids. Then build out a program where the kids who graduate, when they go to college, they go with an internship or a small job. They use that money from their small job that goes back into the school. Every kid that graduates gives back to the school, whether it's $1 out of your paycheck every check, $10, whatever. Build that. Like, allow us to funnel money through our communities and educate our young people. That I would like to see that, because right now I was looking at this one charter school. Like out of the 7 people that really helped build the funding for the school, 4 of them had major contracts with Unicore.gov, which is the company that works with jail labor to produce everything from bed sheets to industrial vehicles. Look up Unicore.gov. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Conspiracy Des.
That's not a conspiracy. It's a real website.
We know. Thank you. We appreciate that. We do not want our kids going to prison to serve as free labor.
That's what they try to do. That's what they try to get all of us eventually.
Eventually. Well, we appreciate you guys being teachers. We want everybody to tweet y'all and say thank you. Why don't they have, like, instead of veterans like appreciation, why don't they have more teachers appreciation shit and like
you have teachers appreciation days, but I mean those shits aren't national holidays and no shit like that. They have them shits in school though.
Right.
Y'all should get like priority seating at the airport.
I not fully expect for people to be emailing us about this episode as well.
Yeah, niggas gonna be hating. Niggas gonna be like, you guys are wrong.
Yeah.
What were y'all wrong about? Well, if they're wrong, let us know. Put your real name on there.
A lot of people do not feel that violence is the corrector for violence, but sometimes you just need to get punched in the face to realize the error of your ways.
Right.
As a younger person, maybe. Like you gotta play with fire to get burned.
33, my mama could slap the shit out of me today.
And same. But that's probably an issue too. So that might be another episode.
If mama slapping the shit out of you was an issue, we lost. We're lost.
I mean, you know, people don't believe in spanking your kids and stuff like that. All of that incites violence.
I'm not gonna get into that.
That's what I'm saying. That's a whole other thing. Like that all goes together though.
I hate my kids.
You ain't gonna hit your kids
right.
today?
No, please don't. No, stop it.
Today Nigeria gonna be the only Nigerian don't beat his kids. All right, you got it.
He's got to make a change. Okay, so thank you for listening to our episode, or the educators episode. We appreciate everybody out there who's also an educator, teacher. We got to raise these kids up right. If you have kids, raise them up right too before they actually get to the school. Thank you. Peace.
All right, we out of here. Peace.
Oh gosh.